So you want to play an engineer build that has amazing burst and can quickly overwhelm opponents and still be able to survive in outnumbered situations while roaming in Guild Wars 2? Don't look any further. This build is for you. I'm Surma and let's jump right in. So as engineer was the close second place in my recent poll, I decided to follow up with this build. So this is a Holosmith build. It's really aggressive, but it still has some quite nice defenses as well. So let's start with the gear. So for gear, you will want to run full Marauder on your armor, together with superior rune of durability, just to get some more toughness and some very important wound duration as well. For your trinkets, a little bit more mixed, so you can either go full berserker gear or swap some commander gear in there to get some more toughness and wound duration, whatever you feel like is necessary. For relic, I think the best option is reverse relic, just because you get some nice alacrity access, which is really helpful in this build. And be aware, in World vs. World, it's not the nerfed version, it's a really good one. And the regen can also help. But there are of course other relics. You can go for Iscaran. It's really nice damage as well. Relic of Leadership can also be really strong because you're running Mortar Kit. Mortar Kit doesn't have a cooldown, doesn't have a cast time. So you have an instant cast cleanse, or let's say convert of 3 conditions into boons. Can be really strong. And if you feel like you don't crit enough, you can also go for Daredevil. Those are the best options. But I would say Reverse Relic is probably one of the best. For weapons, you would go either with Hammer or Sword Shield. Whatever you prefer. Hammer has a little bit more damage, but might be harder to hit because you're slower. It has also some evades on there. Sword Shield has the really nice reflect and block. And the leap is also quite nice, but it doesn't have the, the really strong evade or CC potential that the Hammer has. Depends. Both of them are fine. Either way, I would go for Marauder and with Sigil of Energy and Cleansing, just for the maximum defense you can get. If you feel like you can manage your conditions, either because you run Relic of Leadership or you can manage it another way, then you can swap the Cleansing Sigil for Sigil of Air for more single target burst, or you could even go for Sigil of Celerity for more quickness uptime. Or Sigil of Visions can also work if you don't feel like you crit enough, but I think you crit enough in this build. So there are a few options there. Now to the consumables. For consumables, you have, of course, always superior sharpening stones at your utility consumable. And for food effect, I would go for Spheroid peppercorn spiced oyster soups, just to decrease the incoming damage and get really high amounts of all attributes. If you feel like you can not get enough value from this, you can also go for the endurance regen food. It's really good. It has an amazing synergy with your traits, especially with one variant that I will show you. So both options are totally fine. Though, if you take this one, you don't get the minus 10% incoming damage, so that can maybe make a difference, just that you know. So now to the traits. So for traits, it's quite easy actually. You take Explosive, Tools, and Holosmith. So Explosives just gives you a lot of nice effects. When you engage in a fight, you will get some nice attack that explodes, and Explosion stores vulnerability, and you deal more damage for vulnerability on your target. Get some nice Fury, quite long-lasting Fury actually. When you hit a target with an explosion, you get a nice damage increase with the aim-assisted rocket, and the most important trait here is the flashbang, so that the explosive entrance now will also be inflicting blind and daze, which is really strong. At least if you are above 90%. And be aware that this is not only on the entrance of the fight, also when you dodge it will reset. So that's why the dodge effect is so strong on the food, because you will get this more often, and the daze and the blind can really carry a fight, And then we have tools. That's what makes this build viable. You have some nice vigor application in the toolbar skills. You want to go for toolbar skills that have a low cooldown, just because of those traits here in the tool straight line. You get some condition cleanse when you use a toolbar skill, and they have recharge reduction. Really good. So that's your main source of condition cleanse, I would say. So be aware that if you spam your toolbar skills, you might waste the condition remove. You get some nice damage increase while you have vigor. And then you get static discharge. That's the big damage that you get from your toolbar skills. There's 1200 range, and if you hit all of them that are instant cast, you can deal amazing bursts. So that's really crazy. This trait is really strong. And you get some nice reveal when you hit targets that are stealthed, can be really helpful. And then you get kinetic battery, which will give you some nice super speed and quickness access when you spam 5 toolbar skills. Can be really good with the low, cooldown of those toolbar skills. Then Holosmith gives you access to your Holoforge, Photon Forge. It's really strong, has some nice attacks all around. And then we get, when you deactivate Photon Forge, you will cleanse or convert one condition into a boon. And if you have over 50% heat, it will even be 2. So that's another way to cleanse. It's a little bit less reliable than your toolbar skills, but it's still really good. Then you get some nice healing for each unit of heat that you lose. That is the synergy with another trait that we get into a second. And then you get some nice damage increase while you have the Photon Forge active. And then, really important, your 2 skill into the Holoforge form will give you super speed and remove movement impairing conditions, which is really important because this is your movement set and you want to jump around a lot. So that's really important. And then you can either go for enhanced capacity storage unit just to increase your heat level and get even more damage, especially on your sword skills. Be aware though that you can't lose heat then that often. So I would say for most situations actually in World vs. World, I would most likely go for thermal release valve, because every time you dodge in combat, you will decrease some heat and apply an attack around you. It can be really helpful so that you can manage your heat way more effectively. And that's also why the dodge food can be really strong, because you can do that more often. Not only because you lose the heat, but you also can get some nice damage around you, which can also trigger blind, and your dodge removes a blind, so to say. It can be really strong. So that's it for the traits. Now a quick look to the skills. So like I said, sword skills, some nice leap, quickness access, some reflect and knockback here on the shield, and some nice stun and daze effect. But on hammer you don't get that many knockbacks or stuff, but you get a nice stun on your 5 skill. And you get a really good block. You get a really long-lasting evade, can also be really helpful, and some nice reflect and damage. So hammer has, let's say, a more aggressive toolkit, which also brings some nice defensives. But sometimes in 101s especially, I would say, the shield can be extremely valuable as well. So both are totally valid. So for your healing skill, you want to run Coolant Blast, just because it gives so much heal and is a really nice blast finish. It's really, really helpful. And you run Slick Shoes, just because your toolbar skill is really strong, but also the normal Slick Shoes is quite nice. You leave behind some stuff, and when people walk into that, they will get knocked down. Can be really strong because it's unblockable. You can make some nice plays with that. Then you have Photon Wall, gives some nice block in front of you for 3 seconds. Can be really helpful. And then you go with Rival Turret, which is not that crazy as a normal skill, but the toolbar skill is really good. Other options that you could go for, those two I would always let in, but the Rival Turret you can swap out, for example, for LXAS. Really strong stun break, stealth access on your toolbar skill, and even invulnerability for 3 seconds. Other stuff that you could go for would be the toolkit, because the toolkit has also quite long, nice shot cooldown here, and has a block, a pull, some nice damage here. So toolkit is a really good thing as well if you can manage and play around it. You could even go for rocket boots, just because they have a really nice movement ability for what they are really bringing. So there are multiple options, I would say. Go for whatever you feel like is the best, the most reasonable thing, You could also go for Spectrum Shield. It's a stun break and a stun stability access and damage reduction, so it's a more defensive thing. But the utility here is a little bit lackluster, I would say. So you can go for whatever you like. I would say the most aggressive option would be the Rival Turret, just because your toolbat skills are instant cast, nice damage access, both of them here. This one gives super speed and is a stun break. That's why Slick Shoes are so good. And then you have your healing toolbar skill that is a little bit weird. It removes conditions, really good, but it gives you some burning, but it doesn't deal that much damage, so it's a really strong skill as well. So you have quite a lot of condition cleanses via your toolbar skills, especially because there's a low cooldown and the trades proc more often. In Holoforge you get some nice jump, I said it before. Here you get some nice AoE skill that also gives some nice might and some vulnerability. This one does a lot of range damage. You can shoot some projectiles. This one is a nice blast finisher, but also some really good CC skill around you. And be aware that of course you want to dodge always, so it's not always only that in combat that the skill loses heat, but it's also important that you don't overheat, because if you overheat you're more than probably dead. And that's it for the skills. For the utility, for the hit skill, I would go for either Mortar Kit or Prime Light Beam. You could also go for Supply Crate if you really feel like it, because this 3-second stun has some nice blast and combo fields as well. But I would say most of the time Prime Light Beam might be more worth it, just because it's an unblockable CC. Or Elite Mortar Kit, of course, because the Mortar Kit is an instant cast kit that you can go into with Leadership Rune that's really strong. There's a nice Poison Field, Chill Field, Line Field and Water Field, so if you use it correctly you can jump through the water field and heal yourself. You can blast the water field, so you have actually quite a lot of stuff to interact with your fields as well. In the background you can see that's a really strong and fun build. It's not that good in really big outnumbered situations because you're quite squishy. You're not a typical bruiser. You rely a lot on your dodges, on your blocks. You don't have that much vitality and toughness to deal with direct damage that you can't mitigate, but you have a lot of burst damage, and it's actually also really good in AoE. So it's actually a really fun build to play. I hope you enjoyed this video. If you did, be sure to leave a like. If you want to see more content like this, don't forget to subscribe. Thanks a lot for watching, and I hope to see you in the next video.